Oh shit, where'd she go? I did that wrong, but oh well, I'm here now. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. How are we? It is that time again. I know it has been a little while, but we're here for a little bit more stories from Saul. Excuse me. How have you all been? I hope you have been well. I hope you've been having a good week, either since last we spoke on Tuesday or last we spoke on Dorsum Soul Day. It's been a little while. I feel bad about that. I wasn't very well last week, and then it's kind of gotten away from me. But we're back. We're back, and we're doing the thing. I do believe we are trying to find a way to find some friends to help us in the midst of the chaos of the coup d'etat. We're back from the cruel ways. How have you been? I hope you've been having yourselves some good times since last. It's over there. Since last we were around. Engines, prayer, sea. What's in the sea? You slowly crawl through the cramped passage, away from the light being cast downward from the shaft containing the large fan. It doesn't take long for you to find yourself in complete darkness once again. As you work your way onwards, your hands stretch out in front of you, allowing you to tell where the direction of the crawlway changes. You eventually find yourself in what feels like a dead end. You run your hand to the right and left to the tunnel's terminus, but from what you can tell, there's no alternate route to take. Maybe you'd missed a turning earlier. As you start the awkward process of orienting yourself to head back where you'd come from, you reach up, feeling the top of the crawlway to ensure that you don't bang your head. Instead of a smooth paneling you'd expected to place your hand on, you encounter what feels like a lever. Alright then, let's see what this does. Crossing your fingers as you're not about to open a hatch into space, you grip the lever and push it. With surprising ease, the lever moves, and with it, you feel a mechanism slide from one position to another. The panel above you shifts slightly, revealing a thin crack of light. Okay, now where are we? The airlock. Pushing open the hatch above you and standing up to look around, you look around to see that you've emerged into the airlock. You clamber out of the tunnel, lowering the hatch behind you, but not entirely closing it. The airlock, huh? You muse. I'm amused. Sorry, I just realized we were diving right in, because why the fuck not? It's been too long. I'm eager to find out what's going to happen next. Also, I am joined this evening. I forgot to do the rest of the introductions. I'm not alone. The gorgeous Pit is here with me, engaging in her scrolling stuff, music, just chilling, relaxing.
I'm like looking at YouTube, but I'm also like reading.
Yes.
It's not like at the same time, but
Yes. So she'll be around. She'll be here to interject as and when she feels the desire to.
maybe not.
Which is fine. That's the as and when. And of course, the beast herself, PP, is buried under the blankets because it's not warm enough for her.
She's in the blankets.
We may have had 17 degrees and sun all day, but for Peanut, that's just too cold.
Yeah, I actually opened the window a lot more in the bedroom because it was like really hot. And she was just like sat on the bed trembling. It was like, are you fucking cold? And she's just like,
Yeah, I am cold.
well,
Good evening, Zariando.
bizarre.
Thank you for joining me. How are you doing? Yes, it is. She's a beast of minimal warmth. Even the slightest breeze is enough to set her on edge and upset her.
I mean, my friends don't have undercoats, at least not like the ones that are filmed in like Babush or Shears are not my types. But like they don't have undercoats, so that's also another reason why they don't get very warm. And she's also just like quite lean. She doesn't have that much body fat. Like she has the right amount of fat on her,
She had mean beast
but
machine.
she's just very lean
Just enough to keep her going, but not enough to not warrant having blankets on hand. You are fucking tired. I'm sorry to hear that. Have you had yourself a busy day? I'm assuming you must be all that, or you just didn't sleep at all last night. Sprawl. Very busy, huh? Well, hopefully you're in a position where you can chill out, relax for a little bit, and just rest away the rest of your evening. Perhaps with a little bit of anime visual nonsense. Visual nonsense. Fixed my shower, and it took longer than I hoped. Fixed your shower? That's a process. What did you do to your shower? Yeah, it's Ariando.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hear it.
It's been a while since I had to fix a shower. Fortunately, ours is a nice solid unit built into the wall, and we rent this flat, so even if it did break, I wouldn't have to do anything with it. Tap was leaking, so I wanted to replace it, but the new model was faulty, so I had to go back to the store. The bitch of buying new things only to find that it's equally shit. It's that painful back and forth, because you never know until it's too late. You have to have already dealt with it before you can find out that it's not good enough. I'm sorry that was such a task, but hopefully everything will be running nice and smooth for you going forward.
Dutch guy has really good English too.
Yes.
Although, don't they like speak English really well or something?
Yeah, I think they do tend to teach English line on mainland European countries.
Yeah, at least like in the more populated areas, not like rural villages or something.
I don't know.
I always thought that like if you are in like main city areas of foreign countries, a lot of people will speak English, especially in like western parts of the world. But if you go like to like countryside and stuff, it becomes less common. So that's just what I've always found.
Yeah. Kind of like over here where people are just speaking weak.
Like when I've been to Scotland and stuff, I know this isn't the same, but like what I mean is like in like major city areas, it's like easier to talk to people. But then when you go to like countryside, like very rural areas of Scotland, most people are like they obviously do speak English, but like it's harder to understand them. So I always just figured that it would be the same in a foreign country where English isn't the first language.
Yeah, I mean accents obviously also make a difference to it as well.
Yeah.
That's why I feel it's very important to spend some time learning at least a second language. That's why I'm glad that I have a rudimentary grasp on like French and German, so I can at least get by when I'm out and about in other places.
Mine is definitely not as good as yours. I know like some words, but I kind of like understand a full conversation. I think much better with German though than anything else.
You should really do one of those language courses.
Yeah.
Get yourself nice and fluent.
Because like you do have some European friends, don't you?
I agree.
I guess that. The only thing is like when you see like xenophobic people here who like say fuck off like to your own country, it's like, but these people speak better English than you do and have better hold on English grammar than you
Yeah, they really do. It's quite astonishing sometimes.
do.
Just how people here will just not even properly learn their own language.
Yeah.
Let alone other people. Like I do know like mainland Europeans who can speak better English than a lot of people. Like my Swedish friend has better English than I do.
Yeah.
He's amazing when it comes to English, and yet he can't speak anything else.
I've like known some Polish people because I used to when I was in college and stuff. I had there was like a lot of like Polish like students who were studying there, and a lot of them had like much better English than a lot of English people that I knew. Like because when we were like studying English and stuff like that, because I had to get like more qualifications and stuff like work prospects. They would ask me to clarify some grammar stuff, but often I'd be like, I don't really have many things to correct you on. Like most of this is just really good and correct. Like you're much better at than a lot of people I know.
Yeah.
You should really be embarrassed by it as fast as the help because most of it is correct.
Yeah, I work with a few Polish people, and their English is great. And my colleague from Ghana, her English is amazing.
I would love to get it.
Yeah, Ghana's apparently really cool. yes, back to the airlock. No, you're always welcome to do that. Not exactly the most useful place to be, but it's better than being locked up. These are just standard emergency survival suits. They're good for surviving space, but they won't do much against Hansen and Haru's guns. Wish I'd known there were crawlways linking the airlock to the hangar when the power went off. It would have been a lot simpler going through them to get to the hangar rather than going out into space. Although those passages are like a maze, trying to figure my way around them, whilst the whole ship was without power, I'd have got lost for sure. Probably wouldn't be found until the ship was reclaimed and its new crew started complaining about a bad smell. That's grim. My access restricted. I can't do much here. I can't even stock it. If it comes to it, this will be the only way to open the airlock. There's an appeal to depressurizing the ship to drag Hansen and Haru out in space, but I don't see it as a good way to do that. It doesn't involve me doing. Yeah, very true. I am going to save quickly, because I feel like I could probably mess this up quite easily. Now that I've got... See what happens if I go to the central hub. You tread lightly, doing your best to keep your steps as silent as possible as you approach the central hub. You stop as soon as you reach the threshold between the airlock and the hub and, holding your breath, listen out for any sign that Hansen and Haru might be nearby. Sure enough, you can hear the two bantering loudly from the direction of the four-side thoroughfare as they stand watch over the other two crew quarters corridors. Okay, but seriously, Lord has got it down bad for you. Yeah, I'm not stupid. Trust me, someone like her, no thanks. No way, Cruz. Easy promotion right there. One and done. If you did, I bet you could get her to say anything you wanted when we get the ship back to Europa. No thanks. She's not even my type. Oh yeah? Who is that? As if. The captain? Shut up, Rumney. Commander Quinn? Shut up, Rumney. The banter stops there and a silence follows. You can tell by the voices that they both stood in the four-side thoroughfare, which gives them a clear line of sight straight through the central hub and towards the aft thoroughfare. If you left where you stood now to head further into the ship, there's a good chance that you'd be spotted. Slowly you begin to make your way back towards the airlock. Looking back over your shoulder, you see that the panel controlling the ladder leading to the bridge has come loose again, dropping from its mounts onto the floor. Hey, what was that? Man, I don't know. Sounded like something in the hub. Stay here. I'll check it out. You swear under your breath as you try to move as silently as possible back towards the airlock, as quickly as you can. I knew something was going to happen. Once there, you pull open the hatch, heading into the crawlway, and drop down inside, quickly pulling it shut on top of you. At least you attempt to. As you try to pull the hatch all the way closed, you find it catching on something just before it shuts. Each time you try and force it, the mechanism makes a scraping noise, which you realize is loud enough to be heard from the hub. Hey, someone there? It's instantly apparent to you that the crawlway runs under the route from the central hub to the airlock, as you can hear Hansen's footfall echoing through the crawlway, growing continuously closer. With one final heave, you yank the hatch with all your strength and manage to pull it shut, swinging the lever into its original position as you do so. You sit still in the darkness, holding your breath. Piece of junk ship falling apart. You wait until Hansen's steps have completely faded away, until exhaling your relief. You remember the darkness for a few minutes. You remain in the darkness for a few minutes, waiting until all sounds of activity from the central hub disappear, and you tentatively re-emerge into the airlock. I should probably stay away from the central hub for the time being. Well then, where else can I even go? Back to the crawlways, I guess. And now down the last one. Enter the crawlway. Heading away from the illuminated section of the crawlways that you momentarily stopped at, you find yourself in complete darkness once again. You mutter in frustration as you awkwardly twist around another corner, the snaking tunnel and the lack of any way to meaningfully track how far you've traveled, compounding your lack of awareness of where you might be on the ship. Regardless, you continue to slowly shuffle your way forward, hoping that wherever you might end up would be somewhere that could, in some way, be helpful in your efforts to prove Cassandra's innocence and deal with Vanessa, Hansen, and Haru. As you round another corner, you notice the smell from earlier is much stronger now, the scent beginning to sting your nose and the back of your throat with every breath you take, every move you make. I've got to be nearby now. Let's see. Reaching upwards, you run your hand along the ceiling of the crawlway. Did you see her face? She's like, oh, mother, please.
He's like the witch under the door.
Yeah. The witch of the east.
So we have to get a dog and name it Toby. I just have to.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Why?
Because I don't know.
You don't like Toto?
Of course I like Toto. I love the band.
I used to be obsessed with the Wizard of Oz as a child, but as an adult, I just don't care about it as much anymore.
It's been about 10 years since I last watched it, so
Yeah.
I'm sure we should get to it.
That'd be cool. Just pretend we don't know about the bad stuff going on behind the scenes.
What bad stuff went on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never heard of anything. I haven't watched countless YouTube videos or anything. Video essays.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Judy Garland rules.
Yeah.
2025.
Judy Garland for president. Never mind, she's dead.
That would be cool, though. I bet it should be a good one. Based on absolutely nothing.
I mean, they've had an actor be president before. Ronald Reagan.
What the fuck did he act in?
I remember the movies in the 50s and stuff.
So
Oh, his entire career doesn't matter because you've never seen anything that he was in.
I didn't even know. I don't really know.
Name
about
one other film Judy Garland was in.
Shut up.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know there's more. I just don't
Oh,
remember.
yeah, such as.
I don't remember. I did follow her career. I'm not really like a Julie Garland obsessed fan. Really. I think she's cute and all, but I don't really care about her as an actress. But like, cool person though, from what
So we've gone from Judy Garland for president to I don't really care about it.
I don't understand my trajectory either.
As long as we're both on the same page, not in the book at all. It's a page that's 4 now somewhere.
And it makes it even funnier because we're my friends. I used to hate like book-related jokes about my name. I thought it was like so cheap and easy, and I was just like, "Fuck off, that's pathetic."
Like a mass-produced paper.
And like, hey,
What?
I'm only a mass-produced paperback.
No, the joke's about your name.
I never got that. My cousin would just say, "Page from a book from a tree from a seed," and it would piss me the fuck off.
Well, I wouldn't have announced that
What? Why?
because now it's on the internet where people know that you don't like that.
Yeah, I guess, but it's not like I can see the chat.
But yeah, no one's saying it now. God forbid anyone should watch this in the future.
I guess if you were like PewDiePie famous, it would probably be good.
Yeah, I'll never be that famous.
I don't
I
think
don't think I'll ever be famous.
I don't think most people on YouTube ever get to that level. And I think he was just lucky because of how early in his career he was like on YouTube. Like if he were around today, he wouldn't be famous.
He is around today.
No, I just meant if he started his career today. That's unlikely because it's so saturated.
Maybe, I mean, there are still a bunch of other similarly popular people on there.
Sorry, I'm distracted.
Reaching upwards, you run your hand along the ceiling of the crawlway, and, sure enough, it passes over what you recognize by touch to be a catch that secures a panel in place. Although it takes some amount of fumbling to unclip it in the dark, you eventually succeed, going on to repeat the process with all the others as you find them. Once the final catch is released, you position yourself near one of the panel's edges and raise it slightly, looking around to confirm your location. Hey! The captain's quarters. From your position, you're not able to see the Captain Bartolomew's. Mindful of doing your best not to alarm her and ensuring not to make any noise that might alert whoever is standing guard outside, you slowly slide the panel just far enough to allow you to climb out of the tunnel and into the room. Ugh. You quickly draw your hand back in disgust and flick it away from you, only realizing that you've placed it into a puddle of liquid after the shock of the sensation subsides. Looking down at your hand, you take a tentative sniff. As you've guessed, it's the same smell that you noticed in the crawlway. The burning sensation that fills your nostrils reminds you more of acetone than of a beverage, but it's the unmistakable aroma of the captain's whiskey of choice. You shift position from where you just tried to climb out and move away from the slick footing, rising up into the room once you're far enough away that you don't accidentally douse yourself in the spillage. Also, John, you spelled whiskey wrong. There's an E in it. As soon as both your feet are planted firmly on the floor, you raise yourself upright, bringing you face to face with the captain, her arms crossed as she slumps at her desk, glaring at you. Lieutenant Finch, what a surprise. The captain languidly takes the bottle of whiskey, tilts it in the approximate direction of a small shot glass in front of her, and begins to pour with little regard for accuracy. For as much of the drink that makes it into the glass, just as much is spilled. While she raises the clumsily filled container to her lips, a rivulet of oily liquid on the desk snakes its way towards the edge, pooling for a moment before the surface tension breaks and it sluggishly drips onto the floor. Resting the rim of the glass on her lower lip, the captain slowly pours the acrid liquid down her throat. A few stray droplets reach the corner of her mouth, which she catches with her forefinger before idly licking it, as if, despite her earlier haphazardness, she's being careful to make sure nothing is wasted. If you need to discuss something with the captain, you've come to the wrong place. You'll need to go to the bridge. I'm sure that Captain Lord will be more than happy to help. Actually, Captain, I was looking for you. You respond sharply, going to grab the bottle as the captain reaches for it again. Your tone only reveals a fraction of the frustration you feel at the captain for the fact that whilst you're risking your life to make contact with her, she's embraced being cloistered away as an opportunity to drown her sorrows. The moment you lay your hand on the bottle, the captain snatches it back by the neck, yanking it away from you. You manage to keep your grip and pull it away with a swift tug, sending some of its contents flying through the air and onto the floor, adding to the small puddle of fluid that has formed in the base of the desk. Give that back right now. The captain barks, lunging at you across the desk. Shh. You hiss and shush as the captain, raising a finger to your lips with your free hand and looking towards the door, whilst also doing your best to keep the bottle out of her reach. You nod towards the entrance and move in closer to the captain. Do you want one of those two to come in here? Be quiet. They can't do anything more to me. Now give me back my... You clap your free hand over Maris's mouth, just in time to stop her from shouting at you. The look you see in her eyes is the same familiar fury as when you first told her that you read the report. You can throw us both out of the airlock. Now they can throw us both out of the airlock. You snap back, keeping your hand over her mouth despite her protestations. Now could you please... Hey, what are you doing in there, Bartimeus? You lock eyes with the captain, who maintains her scowl. After a few seconds of silence, you move your hand away slowly. Hey, am I gonna need to come in there? Ensign Cruis, you will stay out of my quarters, and... Yeah, alright, okay. I don't care. Just keep it down. I don't need to hear you complaining. What do you want, Lieutenant? The captain quietly mutters, tracing her finger through the whiskey that remains on the surface of her desk, bringing it to her lips and then placing it on her tongue. I want... You pause, wondering how good of an idea this is. Your help, Captain. With... You exhale in frustration as the captain resumes trying to slowly recover the whiskey that had been spilt on the desk. Captain, right now there's 3 of us facing treason charges. Lord has taken control of the ship, and that thing is still stuck in our hangar. If we don't do something, you, me, and Commander Quinn are going to end up getting spaced, and that's if Vanessa doesn't get everyone on board killed before we get back. You're the captain. You've got to know some way to deal with this situation. There's got to be something we can do. You think we can save the ship, with your help, Captain? That's very noble of you. I wish you the best of luck with it. Picking up her shot glass again, the captain slowly rotates it, causing the last remnants of fluid to gather in one droplet at the bottom, before tilting it back to her mouth. Captain, you snap. You can't be serious. We could all be about to die and you're sitting here drinking. I need your help. You think you need my help? I think you should find someone else. Captain. She drunk. Captain, I need your help. Lieutenant, I thought I made it abundantly clear that you lay both hands on the table and lean in. The captain locks her eyes with yours and glares back at you as you begin to talk, your hushed voice tinged with a slight growl. We both know that Lord is full of it. If we can prove you innocent, prove Commander Quinn innocent, then her reason for this mutiny unravels, and even Haru and Hansen would stand with her if they know they're the ones on trial for treason. I'd do this alone if I could, but I can't. You're the captain of this ship. You know almost everything about it. I need you to help me. Your plea hangs in the air. Who are you doing this for, Lieutenant? What? All this? The captain gestures lazily at the skewed floor panel behind you, and then at the general area around you. Who is it for, Lieutenant? Lord may very well be successful with the accusations she's leveled against myself and Miss Quinn, but you, I think you'll be fine. Even if she tries to implicate you, you've done more than enough to make sure that you won't see any significant punishment. The captain's sudden change in demeanor takes you by surprise as she shifts from morose and disinterested to sharp and authoritative. She leans forward, bringing herself closer to you than you're comfortable with, causing you to stand up straight. So why risk all of that on something stupid like this? A security officer siding with their captain during a takeover is hardly grounds for a charge of treason. You feel more taken aback by the line of questioning than you did the captain's shift in attitude. Why am I doing this? That's obvious. Lord can't. Not why, Lieutenant. Who? What's the difference? It's the whole crew that's... I want you to think about this, Lieutenant. The captain sighs. Her eyes seem to glaze over for a moment as she stares into the distance. I'm not particularly in the mood for this kind of escapade right now, so I need to know. As soon as she turns her attention back to you, that look is gone, now replaced by one that's steely and cold. Who is this for? So, that's an interesting choice. So for me personally, it is for everyone. But I suppose, character-wise, it might also be for her, so we're gonna go with everyone. It's for the whole crew, of course. Vanessa's putting this whole ship in danger with what she's doing. That thing in the hangar is a huge threat, and even if we do make it back to Europa in one piece, everyone on board could... You run your hand through your hair in a confused frustration as the captain returns her attention to the trail of whiskey on her desk. Damn it, Captain, what does it matter? We're all in danger, every one of us, even you. This is your crew. You need to do something. Lieutenant, you expect me to believe that after being on this ship for just a few days, you're willing to risk your life for everyone on board? Of course, there. I've been with this crew for months, Lieutenant, and there's not a single one of them that would risk their life for me. I know that. I wouldn't risk my life for them either. I'd help you, but I'd help you. There's a debt that you've brought to my attention. I understand you. Better than you understand yourself, it seems. I'm not risking my life for someone who can't be honest with what they want. I am being honest with what I want. So tell me the truth, Lieutenant. Who is this for? You ball up your fists, struggling with what the captain was asking you. You know deep down inside why you're doing this, who you're doing it for, but for the captain to ask you like this. You can't be certain. Is she playing with you? Trying to make you look like a fool? What does it matter who you're doing it for? Shouldn't she be happy that at least one member of her crew is willing to stand up for her? Your head swims with the potential traps she set for you in that question. And you're about to protest when you remember what she said when you spoke to her earlier. There are things in this life that are more important to us than our orders, than our duty, than our honor. And when it's a choice between these things that are more important to us than anything and everything else, we know what decision we have to make. You exhale a breath that you've been holding out of tension and relax your hand. It's for Lieutenant Quinn. See, but it isn't. It isn't though. Honestly, I am doing this because part of me just feels like I should be doing it for the crew. Like, it's my job. As the security dude. And I don't know, maybe it's just my sense of justice. Like, the idea that this is all so greedily done, so unfair in nature, is what spurs me on to be like, no, you can't do this, this shouldn't be done this way. Like, is that so wrong? I don't know, like, maybe this is the same thing that is the reason why I make that one particular choice in Life is Strange, for example. Like, I'm not altruistic in nature typically. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I am, but there is something to be said for a certain degree of like morality that I like to stick with. So I don't know. The idea of, I get that obviously this character isn't necessarily me, but at the same time, I'm making a lot of these decisions based on my personal choices and my moral and beliefs. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the idea of being railroaded into the whole "I'm doing it for Cassandra" thing, because I don't think I am. You feel the slight warmth of a blush on your cheeks and look away. This confession has you feeling like a caught-out teenager. I love her, man, and I'm not going to let this happen to her. I can't let this happen to her. I can't stand by. Not again. Not... That's enough, Lieutenant. Bringing her finger to her lips in a shushing gesture, the captain looks towards the door. That's enough. I may not strike you as the overly sentimental type, but I needed to know that if I were to do something like this, it would be for the right reasons. With a sigh, the captain stands upright and adjusts her hat and tie. If you think you need my help for this, then I'll help you. But you need to make sure you're certain about that. This may feel like life and death, but I'd recommend not rushing into things, like I did. So consider this very carefully, Lieutenant. Captain. Captain's help could be valuable with getting control of the ship. Glad that I didn't find her blackout drunk like last time. I'm going to get the captain to help me. It's worth asking if there's anything useful. Thankfully, it seems like the captain's lost her interest in it. The colony fleet. Got to deal with Vanessa before we get there. I told Cassie I was going to take it to that water park, and there's no way I can let her down. She's not really... What? Still not really the type for it. Can I talk to you? Ah, Lieutenant, I hadn't expected you to return to me so quickly. Have you decided that this is really what you want to do? Maybe you felt fairly certain when you came back to the captain that this was something you couldn't do without her, but now that you were in front of her, you felt your resolve full-time. There are other options, you knew that. Despite the captain's knowledge, authority, experience, and how alert you seem right now, your mind kept wandering back to the nearly empty bottle on her desk. Was this really who you wanted to entrust Cassie's fate to? I think I might see what the other options are out there. Hopefully there's a less risky way to do this. I see. Do let me know once you made up your mind, Lieutenant. Yes, ma'am. Can I? Even if I could open the door, Hansen is armed and stood right outside. Not worth the risk. Fair. So... I'll go back to the hangar to see, talk to Dalton. Oh, Lieutenant, it's you again. Do you, still need my help? I mean, not that I won't help you if you, need it. It's just that, maybe there's someone else who can help you. Someone who isn't me. I just think that, I might not be who you want. I would, though, if you needed it. I need your help. Dalton, look. I know this is scary, but if we don't do this, then the whole ship is in danger. You're a good cadet. You do your best to do everything right, and it's got to be tough to know that you're going against the chain of command. But we can't let Vanessa get away with this. There's too much at stake. You, me, everyone on board. We're all at risk. So I need your help, cadet. I don't have the skills to get this done without you. Are you sure that no one else can help? I just think maybe you should ask someone else. I just don't want... Okay, maybe there are other options. Yeah, look, if there's any other options, but hang in there, right? Okay, maybe I should put this guy fresh in a kid. Even it might be a bit trickier to convince them. He just doesn't think he's going in. Okay. I'll just go and get the captain then, I guess. Kinda was hoping I'd be able to get everyone involved, but I guess I can only choose one. So, yes. Captain Bartlews. And if you treat me so quickly, is this really what you want to do? Yes, I need your help. You instinctively straighten your posture and take on a formal stance. Captain's eyes focus intently on you. There might be other options to handle this, you think. There was the chief, who probably knew more secrets about the Gundog than anyone. Dalton's knowledge of the ship's mechanisms and functionality could certainly come in useful. But when it came to knowledge of the ship, the JCF, and how to use authority, no one would be able to compare to the Captain Martin views. Yes, ma'am. If I'm going to rescue Cassie, if we're going to get this ship back under your control, I'm going to need your help. You're confident about that? Yes, ma'am. I can't think of anyone better. I see. If that's the case, Lieutenant, I hope you have a plan. The course of action is not one I've been considering until quite recently. You pause for a moment. The years of naval conditioning had instilled in you an instinct to defer to authority, but in this case, the traditional power dynamic wasn't in effect. Glancing over the captain's shoulder, you see the almost empty bottle of whiskey. Considering how much had been drunk, you were surprised at how alert and focused the captain seemed. But, all things considered, it might be for the best if you're the one that calls the shots, making use of the captain's knowledge when necessary. Right, first things first, we prove that Cassie had nothing to do with this. Our main priority is proving that she isn't a murderer. If we can do that, then everything afterwards should be easy. There must be plenty of logs confirming that what's happened has all been coincidence. If you can prove your innocence to the crew, then we might be able to get this ship back before we even get to Europa. I see. I suppose it stands to reason. Well then, Lieutenant, lead the way. Before we go, Captain. Are you sure there isn't anything in here that's useful? Once we leave your quarters, we probably won't be coming back. It'd be too risky with Hansen still inside. The ensign was very particular about relieving me of my access card, keys, and tokens, and the JCF is not in the business of giving out spares. I can't get into my desk to get the access codes of the ship. The captain turns on her heels and heads towards the bedroom. You follow, stopping at the threshold between the two areas, and watch as she pulls open the top drawer of her dresser. Whilst the drawer is full of clothing, the captain ignores it, instead reaching underneath and towards the back of the unit. With a matter-of-fact motion, she pulls something out and presents it to you. I believe this might come in useful. Well, goddamn! Can't help but be taken aback at the captain's complete disregard for procedure. For the same reason that all weapons on board are kept in the armory, there's absolutely zero allowance for crew members to have personal weapons on board. Captain, that's... It's against regulations for crew members to bring weapons aboard. Even having that stashed away could... Is that so, Lieutenant? Do you intend to report me? I thought not. Now, Lieutenant, as before, please lead the way. Right, sure. You head over to the floor panel and taking care to avoid the puddle of whiskey, lower yourself in. Turning around, you offer your hand to the captain, who takes it and elegantly follows you into the poolway. You'll need to duck for this, Captain. Following your instructions, the captain squats down, and you do the same. Much like in your own quarters, you then quietly slide the floor panel into place. You find the whole process much easier this time around, and with a series of clicks, you're left in the darkness. Alright then, Captain, let's go. Due to the amount of times you had to stop to guide the captain through the darkness, seemingly having to pause at every other corner to ensure she was still behind you, returning to the hub between the various crawlways takes longer than you'd hoped. Still, you'd made it eventually, and now that you had the captain on your side, you've finally been able to do something to prove both her and Cassie innocent, and regain control of the ship. You take the opportunity afforded to you by the larger area you're in to get off your hands and knees, and sit against one of the walls, rubbing your palms together to relieve the numbness that had come with crawling for so long. Why don't we take a quick break here, Captain? Are you sure about that, Lieutenant? You were quite impassioned by this plan of yours in my quarters. I'd have thought nothing would have stopped you from proving the Lieutenant Commander innocent. You sigh as you knead the muscles at the base of your neck in an attempt to work out some of the tension that had been building up in them from all the crawling. What you didn't want to tell the captain was that you'd left her quarters behind you. What you didn't want to tell the captain was that as you'd left her quarters behind, you'd realised that you had no idea where to begin on that particular objective. I was thinking that this would be a good opportunity to discuss how we were going to approach this. Well, I wouldn't object to a brief pause. With a level of decorum that surprises you, considering both the circumstances and the amount that you knew she'd drunk, the captain brings her knees together and positions her legs to one side, while bringing herself into an upright sitting position. Okay. I'm blind! Actually, I'm kind of blind. Let me know when you're wanting to share the details with me. Let's see, shall we? Not sure there's anything useful for me that way. I don't even know how I'm going to deal with things. Okay, I guess we're going to talk. You take a deep breath and hold it in. Hold on to it. You know what you need to do. There's no sense of delaying it any longer. You release the breath and turn to the captain. There was no sense in feeling embarrassed that you didn't have a completely thought out plan. It wasn't as if she'd discipline you for not being prepared for duty right now. Captain. Oh, yes, Lieutenant. Are we going over your plan now? You furrow your brow for a moment. Had the captain been falling asleep? Yes, that's right. Well, go ahead, Lieutenant. I'll be happy to provide input where necessary. Are you alright, ma'am? Quite alright, Lieutenant. Why do you ask? You lock eyes with the captain. You were confident that she'd been drifting off again. Although you were effectively on equal terms right now, you were still wary about instigating any conflict. If all went to plan, she would be your captain again, after all. Just check in before we begin. I appreciate your concern, Lieutenant. Now carry on. With a sigh, you begin. The main thing we need to do is disprove Lord's justification for accusing you and Commander Quinn. Once we've done that, we can tell the rest of the crew to get them back on side. And how would we go about doing that? Well, do you remember what she said on the bridge? Not particularly. You may recall that when Lieutenant Lord was justifying herself, I was busy trying to retrieve the wind that Ensign Cruis had so thoroughly knocked out of me. Ah, right. Well, a big part of what she said of it was that she thought you and Commander Quinn were purposefully absent during the blackout. Did she now? As unfortunate as the timing was, I can assure you that it wasn't my intent to be indisposed like that. But we can deal with that because... there will be records. Both incidents were reported to the doctor, who would have recorded them and written them up. His notes would show that both of your conditions were genuine. If we can find those, then that's the first step to proving that Vanessa's justification for mutiny doesn't hold water. So our first stop would need to be the sick bay. There's one issue with that, Lieutenant. You lean forward. You just started feeling positive about this plan, and now the captain was throwing a problem your way. As frustrating as it was good to deal with these things now rather than have them sprung on you later, you thought. What's that? If you'd allow me to play devil's advocate for a moment, surely if there were a conspiracy at the highest level of the crew, then documents could be faked to support it. If I was Lieutenant Lord, I know I'd make sure my case was as watertight as possible. You cross your arms, considering the captain's point. But if the records were going to be faked, the doctor would need to be in on it, right? He's the only one with access to the medical files, and enough medical knowledge to know what would need to be recorded. Why would you kill him if he was in on it? That's easy, Lieutenant. There would be one less liability when it came to keeping things secret. At least that's the way I would see it if I was indeed part of a nefarious plot to sacrifice the gun dog in the name of an enemy weapon test. You cross your arms and lean back against the cool steel of the crawlway. It was frustrating, but the captain was right. If you knew Vanessa was the exact kind of thing... If you knew Vanessa, this was the exact kind of thing that she'd have considered. Now that you mention it, Lord also accused the commander of murdering the doctor. At the time, I thought she was just looking to pin it on someone, but if she thinks your records might prove you innocent... A long silence follows and the captain tilts her head back, supporting it with the crawlway wall. You wait for her to respond to you, but instead she remains still, breathing gently. You mull over what the captain has said and how this changes things. Even if that is the case, it doesn't make a difference. It just means that we need the medical records and we need to prove that the commander didn't kill the doctor. To do both those things, we're going to need to visit the sick bay. A sound justification, Lieutenant, will lead the way. So we're going to need to go to there. Shifting back on your hands and knees, you move towards the tunnel that you know leads to the airlock. Although it's not a direct way to sickbay, from the crawlways you're currently in, it's the closest point you're able to get to that you know of. Making your way through the tunnels, you keep pausing to check the captain is still close behind you, quietly warning her of upcoming turns as necessary. Eventually, you find yourself at the same dead end you'd encountered earlier. It takes a few seconds, but oh, hello there, PP. Hello. She has jumped up onto my face in order to say hello. Hello, you still smell lovely from your shower from yesterday. How are you doing? You're making it very difficult for me to be able to play the game because you're right in my face. What are you doing? She's exploring my cupboard or my shelves. Yes, are you okay? Settle down, you're welcome to join me. Yes? Sorry guys, I will be back in a moment. I'm not going anywhere, I'm just indisposed. She's ramming her face against my face, trying to break my nose. With love, aren't you? Yes. Oh, wanna lie down? If you lie down, then we can do both things. We can cuddle up and she's standing on the throat. Yes, sweet you too. Hello. Such a loving girl. Oh, yes. One of these days I need to set up a camera so you can see this gorgeous. She's trying to stick her face up my nose. Good girl. Lie down. Lie down. And just stick your nose in my mouth. Thank you very much. Now she's nibbling her armpit. Oh, big smelly yawn. Hello. Eventually, you find yourself at the same dead end you'd encountered earlier. It takes a few seconds, but you locate the lever on the underside of the hatch and twist it, releasing the catch. Slowly, you push the hatch open, peering through the small gap to see if there's anyone about. What are you doing? Oh, I see. You found your special biscuits. We'll keep this packet of treats nearby, just in case she's being extra good, and now she has found them, or at least can see them. Want to settle down? Want to settle down? If you settle down, you can join me while I strim. Yeah. Or you can just keep trying to break my nose, that's fine too. That's fine. Thank you. One of these days you will break my nose. Thank you. Yes, I love you too. Everyone loves you because you are wonderful. Yes. Especially on the Minpin subreddit. We have spent a lot of time on the Minpin subreddit since getting her, and she's becoming fairly well known amongst the other Minpin owners. It's very adorable. Especially considering that there are like at least 2 other Minpins on there who look exactly like her. It's the quartet of red Minpins, or red pins. Are you done now? You're just going to sit on my plane. At least I can see what I'm doing now. Slowly you push the hatch open, peering through the small gap to see if there's anyone about. Satisfied that the room is clear, you open the hatch completely and climb out of the doorway, turning around to wait for the captain to appear, and offering your hand when she does, helping her up into the room. Well, Lieutenant, I have to say that this isn't a method of traversing the ship I'd ever expected to get familiar with. Me neither, ma'am. From what I've heard about your exploits today, it seems that you're certainly becoming an expert on alternative ways to get around the gun dock. Are you sure you're happy in security? I would be more than willing to recommend you to the engineering department once this is all over. As you see the wry smile on the captain's face, you furrow your brow slightly. You'd only served Captain Hartleys for a few days, but she'd definitely not come across as a woman with much of a sense of humour. Because of this, you find it difficult to tell whether this query was genuine, mocking, or friendly banter. You're also too mentally exhausted to deal with any social complexities with much finesse, so instead, you turn away from the captain and slowly walk towards the corridor and connecting the airlock with the central hub. Honestly, Captain, I'm not enjoying this much, so no, not really. Staying close to the wall in case you need to duck back around the corner should anyone walk by, you look out into the central hub. You can't see anyone, but the sound of Hansen and Haru's conversation is faintly audible. With a sigh, you rub the bridge of your nose. You've made it this far, but you still need to figure out a way to get past them. Is something the matter, Lieutenant? Shouldn't we be continuing on? You cross your arms and look back over your shoulder towards the central hub. The elevators are right there, but from the sound of it, Hansen and Haru pretty much stood in the Foresight thoroughfare. If we were to walk into the central hub, we'd be spotted for sure. We're not going anywhere unless they leave. We may need to find a different way in. Well, Lieutenant, I've got quite an easy solution to that. With a mischievous grin that catches you off guard, the captain reaches into her jacket and draws the revolver that you admonished her for possessing earlier. Captain, no. In an instant, you close the distance between you, grabbing the wrist of the hand that holds the revolver and yanking the weapon away. Captain, damn it, we can't. Give that back, Lieutenant. You still have the captain's one wrist in hand, but with her free arm, she claws at you in an attempt to get the gun. Captain, be quiet. Give me my gun. Damn it. Decocking the revolver and shoving it back into the back of your waistband, you grab the captain by the waist and draw her towards you, clamping your hand over her mouth. Captain, please, calm down. You hiss into her ear as she struggles against you. Captain, please, I need you to calm down. Yes? Yes, please. The weapons Hansen and Haru have would blow us away before you could even get a single shot in. Remember, we're trying to win them over, not take the ship back by force. That's a fight we can't win. Can I let you go now? With the captain still subdued, you look back over your shoulder to see if you can hear anyone coming. See if you can hear. Interesting. Fortunately, there's no sound of footsteps or approaching voices. It seems that a combination of the distance between you and the Foresight thoroughfare, alongside the background noise of the ship, did enough to make the captain's outburst inaudible to the ensigns. Alright, just please be quiet, Captain. Fuck yeah. No. I think these are great.
I have done that too before.
Releasing your hold on her waist and taking your palm off her mouth, you step back. I'll have you know, Lieutenant, laying hands upon a senior officer like that is a serious offense.
You're presently boys.
They are. You
Don't
bite.
have to say people that you're dying.
You bite your tongue, not wanting to respond with a comment about how it's lucky for you that she's no longer your senior officer. You don't want to risk any more unpredictable outbursts. I'm sorry, ma'am, but a part of my training is to disarm any party with an unauthorized weapon at the earliest opportunity. Well, I suppose I should be commending you for acting on your training so rapidly. Thank you, Captain. You don't mention that wresting a weapon away from someone is an approach you'd only use when you think there's an imminent risk to the armed crew member or others around them. No, down, Peanut.
Peanut?
Or others around them, and the known procedure is to try and de-escalate the situation first.
I've actually noticed that you had one as well, so I must see your father will be quick.
My father will not. You can't imagine the captain taking that piece of judgment well. If you don't feel that the direct approach is our best option, what would you recommend we do, Lieutenant? You turn back to the corridor, looking towards the central hub. Your current objective is getting to sickbay. That was certain. But currently, the two ensigns were effectively in between you and where you needed to be. You couldn't just walk over to the elevators. There's no way that you could sneak by, and direct confrontation wasn't an option. Moshiki. That's a very good yum yum. One might call it a yum 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 yum.
It's on the scale of the little ones.
Yeah, although it lacks the caramel filler.
Yeah.
As far as you knew, there were no cruel ways that you could access that would take you directly to the sickbay either. Hansen and Haru needed to be dealt with, but how? There's no other way. We need to get the two ensigns out of the Forsyth thoroughfare without resorting to violence. What we need is a distraction. There's no sense in trying to find another way in. Those cruel ways are a maze. We could spend between here and Jupiter trying to explore our way around them, and still not find a route into Sickbay Bay. We need to get them out of the Forsyth thoroughfare. I agree, Lieutenant. Do you have any idea on how we'd accomplish that? Well, I was thinking we could do something in the hangar. The hangar, Lieutenant? That's right, man. I don't think there's anything else on the ship we can get to, or do enough to create a distraction that would keep the ensigns away for long enough without putting the ship at risk. Except for the hangar. With that machine in there right now, anything that happens would be treated like a genuine emergency. At least it should, if Lord's got any sense. So if we can draw them there, then I imagine they'll be there for a while, making sure everything's okay. Good thinking. A distraction in the hangar it is. So then, how does one go about getting to the hangar through the crawlways? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. You explain the route to the hangar, referencing the spot with the fan in which you'd come up with your plan together as a waypoint. You make sure to let the captain know about the gravity net disappearing slightly before you arrive, conscientious about the impact a surprise loss of gravity may have on someone who's consumed so much Europa special blend. After all, if you're going to be crawling through those tunnels together, the last thing you want is another unwelcome obstacle. I suppose that doesn't sound too complicated. Alright then, Lieutenant, you stay here and wait for the signal. I'll be sure to make it suitably obvious. Wait, Captain, you can't go alone.
You're so nostalgic.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's very much a, I think, Macross or,
It's a very feeling going Who's the character?
also kind of reminds me of,
First edition.
no, this one you've got, it's that gay one about the teenager who's like trying to form a coup d'etat in a town, like a kingdom. It'll come to me. Why not, Lieutenant?
My brain's just like, do I actually own that? Does it sound familiar?
Yeah, you do. Trying to see if I can see it on the shelf, but obviously everything is covered in cards.
It's not orange, because that's like about a teenage couple. I think it's time travel.
No, not orange. Revolutionary Girl Lieutenant.
Oh, right, yeah. I haven't read all of them.
Neither have I.
But yeah, it's very like, that word that's for like the target audience of like young people.
Shoujo.
Yeah.
You pause for a moment, knowing full well that you can't respond with your concerns about how drunk she is, and how that makes her a potential liability which might need to be monitored. I just think we need to stick together. If we get separated, then we can't help each other out when something goes wrong. It's too risky. Whilst I appreciate the concern, I believe I'm more than capable of handling myself. But we haven't agreed on the distraction either. Believe it or not, Lieutenant Finch, I'm able to make quite the fuss when the need arises. I can manage perfectly well on my own. Besides that, if my distraction doesn't keep the ensign's attention for long, then we don't want to waste all of our time returning from the hangar to this airlock. At least one of us needs to be ready to take immediate advantage of it. As much as you want to argue, her last point in particular is one that you'd make yourself if you'd not been preoccupied with her condition. The captain's resolve was plain to see. You could tell there was no use dragging this out with an argument. All right, I'll wait here. Very good, Lieutenant. With that, the captain heads back to the hatch leading into the crawlway and, with continuously surprising elegance, lowers herself down into the tunnel. As she crawls out of view, you lower the hatch behind her until it slots into place, becoming flush with the flooring around it. For the next 20 minutes, you do your best to wait patiently until there's some sign of the captain's distraction, but your restlessness leads to you pacing back and forth in the area of the room out of view of the corridor. Eventually, you begin to wonder if the captain's either got lost in the crawlways or has been caught. As much as you want to head into the tunnels yourself, you resist. Knowing your luck, the captain would start a distraction just when you travelled far enough to not be able to return in time. Although you can't go through the tunnels to check on her, you realise that you can see if Hansen and Haru are both still present. If they are, then she must be safe. You can't imagine Dalton having the courage to apprehend the captain, even if he thinks she is a traitor. You stand by the entrance into the corridor that links to the central hub and listen out for the two pilots. In the distance, you can still hear the casual back and forth between Hansen and Haru. As tense as it makes you to know that the two people who have a high probability of shooting you on sight are so close, it's also reassuring that if they're both there, it means the captain has remained undetected. Looking down at your watch to see the seconds and minutes count down, you can't help but wonder where she is. Your thoughts a tug of war between trusting her and staying here or going to find her. Best viewers! Oh my god! With a sigh, you look back towards the hatch. At this point, it's been too long. You're thrown forward as the ship shakes around you, only avoiding falling by grabbing onto the wall. Captain, what the hell have you? Above you, a speaker crackles to life as an announcement is carried over the ship's intercom system. This is Captain Lord. I want all hands to the hangar on the double. I repeat, this is Captain Lord. All hands are to report to the hangar on the double. Now. The sound of Vanessa's panicked anger echoes through the ship as the same announcement sounds from speakers all along the entire length of the thoroughfares. You hear the two ensigns exchange some quick words before the sound of their boots ring out against the steel flooring, letting you know they're heading to the hangar. You begin to creep down the corridor towards the elevators, stopping short of entering the central hub as you hear another crew member approaching from the aft thoroughfare. Ducking down by the wall to your right, you watch as the chief sprints by, muttering angrily to herself. As she heads away through the hangar, you make a break for the elevator door, slamming the pull button. Come on. You repeatedly tap the button, thankful that due to its emergency nature, the sickbay doesn't need you to swipe your keycard to access it. Instead, relying on simply using a bioscanner to log the representatives. I feel like that's a mistake. I should have gone down by the ladder. Why didn't I get that choice? Let's go, Hardy. Let's go. As the door begins to open, you immediately slip through the gap, hitting the door close button as soon as you're inside. With a sigh of relief, you lean back against the cool metal wall and feel yourself begin to move downwards. You can't allow yourself too long to relax as you begin to think about what exactly the captain had done in the hangar to create her distraction. As you feel the elevators descend slow, you stand up and sigh. Hopefully whatever it was hasn't damaged the ship too badly. You survey the elevator for any indication that what the captain had done had damaged the ship. Thankfully, the emergency lighting hadn't come on, and everything seemed to be operating as intended. Shrugging inwardly, you shield your eyes as the doors open and expose you to the harsh glare of the sickbay lights. For now, you just have to trust her. You emerge slowly and silently into the sickbay, scanning the room as soon as your eyes have adjusted to the light. At first glance, you don't see any sign of the attacker who'd knocked you out the last time you were here, but you're careful to check behind the doctor's desk, as well as any other blind spots within the room. Once you're confident there's no one else in here with you, your shoulders drop and you release the tension that you carry. Without any obvious threat, you take your time going over the room. Everything was as you'd remembered it being. No one had even gone to the effort of cleaning up the shattered glass that covered the floor in front of the medical cabinets. You take a small amount of solace in that fact. If you were lucky, it meant that everything else in the room had been left alone too, including any evidence that might absolve Cassie or the captain. Okay, where to begin? I need to quickly be right back, so I will do that. Be right back. return, and my hands are no longer sticky. What? Yeah.
So out of context.
Wait, did say my hands are sticky. People know. They don't think there's anything weird going on. I'd be pretty good if I was able to do stuff to you whilst also doing this. Things that might otherwise make my hands sticky. If you know what I mean. If you don't, this is a totally innocent conversation. True. Very true. Heading over to the emergency beds, you do a quick visual review that doesn't reveal anything unusual. Despite this, you take some extra time to go over them, peering into all the little nooks and crannies where the padding top joins the frame. You pay careful attention, looking for any unusual markings or damage, or signs that someone else may have been around them, aside from Cassie and the doctor. Unfortunately, the only thing you can find that would be considered out of the ordinary is an empty chocolate bar wrapper stuffed under the pillow alongside a few crumbs on the covering. Oh, she did get the chocolate. You didn't need to be an expert tracker to know who would be here. Performing one final investigation, you check into the beds and notice a familiar purple wrapper. You got a silent voice. Oh, this must have dropped down when they took her away. Wait, what? Don't worry, Cassie, I'll get to see you. Did she eat it or not? Bar of airy Should I not be suspicious about this? Because if that's the one that I left under the pillow, then why is it on the floor? The doctor's desk. If there are any documents that will come in useful, they'll be in there. Okay. Let's see. Much like on the O'Brien, the glass front of the cabinets that stored the various medicines and treatments had all been smashed with fragments covering the floor. You do your best to avoid disturbing anything, but still manage to crunch a few pieces underfoot. As you look at the broken edges of the glass that remains in the cabinet doors, no blood, no fabric, nothing caught on these shards. You step back to get a better look and hear something crinkle as you step on it. Turning back to see what it is, you kneel down to pick it up. Nutri-Shake mix. You turn the packet in your hands and notice that it's completely empty, just like what happened on the O'Brien. I know it wasn't Cassie who killed the doctor, and since this is the same thing that happened on the O'Brien, does that mean it's the same killer? Could it be whoever's piloting that machine? But we've not seen any sign that anyone's been able to leave it. And why would they kill two doctors just over nutritional shakes? It doesn't make any sense. The doctor's desk. It's probably my best bet of finding something useful. Moving around to the side of the doctor, where Dr. Rosarium typically sat, you're relieved to find that the drawers are unlocked. You take a thick pile of files out of the top one and begin flicking through them, looking for anything useful. There's got to be something here. You think, but there's a huge number of documents within the stack of folders that you've taken, more than you could easily skim through. After a few minutes, you place them down on the table and try the second drawer. This time, a smile crosses your face as you pull out the doctor's data pad. Jackpot. Pulling a sticky note off the screen and placing it back in the drawer, you took the device Pulling a sticky note off the screen and placing it back in the drawer you took the device out of, you inspect it, looking for the power button. You find and flick a switch on the back of the datapad, watching the screen slowly illuminate as the device comes to life, the sound of a drive within it begin to spin, letting you know it's still functional. Alright, I bet this will have all the information I need. Your elation is immediately wiped away as you're faced with the login prompt. Oh, come on. Safer Rosarium, eh? I wonder where he got that name from. Could it be because he's obsessed with Final Fantasy VIII? Yes it is. You place the datapad onto the desk alongside the pile of files and sit down in the doctor's chair, placing your head in your hands. You had no expectation that this endeavor would be easy, but you had been hoping that at the very least, it would have been simple. What? Hoping. You've opened before, so don't lie. Don't make it seem weird. Everyone has opened. Mayan Tobin. Dasant Harry.
I know Mayant is an actual word, but it sounds stupid.
It does, I don't like Mayant. Unfortunately, that did not look like it would be the case. After taking a few moments to silently fume at the challenges that were being thrown your way, you realize there's nothing you can do but move forward. This can't be it, there's got to be something I can do. With a long exhalation, you stand up, looking around the sickbay. You'd come this far, you weren't going to give up yet. There's no obvious evidence that anyone else has been on them aside from Cassie. I suppose Hansen must have been resting on one of these beds at some point, but there's no trace that he was ever here. You pick up a few scattered boxes of medication and place them on the counter. You review each one in turn, finding them still completely sealed and with no obvious relationship between them. There's one for blood pressure, there are sleeping pills, some of these are antidepressants. Hello! I fear one factor in common is that it looks like they were all yanked out to get at what's behind them, which would be... You peer into the back of the cupboard, where all you see is an empty cardboard tray with the product in it. She's so cute! If you like it. Nutrishake Max Nutritional Alternative 10 by 2 kilograms. Becoming incredible. She licking up my nostril.
See it from
Right up my nostril. I breathed in, but her breath smells like fish. She seriously licks right up inside your nostrils. It's grim.
It'd be worse if she were a cat though, because they have like.
Well, I mean, I suppose she could help then. Scour out some of the crap inside my nose. Yes, it's gross either way. But she grows beefy when we love her. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You need to clean your vagina, do you? I'm sorry, I was so rude of me to get in the way of that. If someone wanted shake mix next, I'm sure they could have just asked. Next to the door leading into the surgery wing is a standard security terminal, featuring a screen, number pad, and card reader. You hear the glass of the door like tap with your knuckles, and the dull knock that you hear lets you know that this glass is extra thick. Lightly reinforced. Where are you going? Without some serious firepower, there's no way you could get in there right now. Not even the revolver you'd taken from the captain would cut it. Running your hands back through your hair, you pace from one side of the room to the other. As far as you could tell, there was no obvious proof that Cassie had been the doctor's murderer, but you couldn't find any proof to the contrary either. At this rate, you wouldn't be able to find anything, and there was every chance that once you left sickbay, the ensigns would have returned to their positions outside the crew quarters. Had you risked it all for nothing? Before you can dwell on that thought, though, you hear the elevator whir into life, letting you know that within the next few seconds, someone would be entering the room. With no time to spare, you decide to hide. You look around the room in desperation for somewhere to conceal yourself so that you can either stay unnoticed by whoever enters or get the drop on them if necessary. With the surgery wing locked and the emergency beds nothing more than suspended platforms, you're left with one option. Just as the door slides open, you dive behind the desk, trying to tuck yourself into whatever space there is underneath it. Remaining as quiet as you can, you listen to the sound of footsteps crossing the room towards your position. The footsteps move from the elevator into the sickbay and pause briefly before carrying on towards your hiding spot. You hear the sound of someone leafing through the files you'd left on the desk, stopping after a minute or so, and then heading towards the medicine cabinets. From your limited view, you're able to make out that whoever is in the room with you is wearing a pair of heels, sheer tights, and a skirt, making it one of two people. You cautiously creep out from the desk, preparing to assault the room's other occupant from behind if necessary. Fortunately, as soon as you leave the desk, you see that the woman facing away from you is wearing a leather jacket, the back of which is half covered by a cascade of honey blonde hair. Captain. Yeah! You manage to dodge the open palm that swings towards you, but only just. The step you take to evade it causes you to trip on a carton of tablets, and you stagger backwards, catching yourself on the doctor's desk. Captain, it's me. Damn it! What exactly do you think you're doing sneaking up on me like this? I'm sorry, ma'am. I was hiding just in case one of the ensigns had come. Well, I'd appreciate it if you were more overt in future. I don't want to have to keep my eyes peeled for you as well as the rest of the crew. Understood, ma'am. So, Lieutenant, I hope that your investigation has been fruitful. I'd hate for what happened in the hangar just now to have been for nothing. Well, you trail off. Aside from an inaccessible datapad, you didn't have anything to show for whatever chaos the captain had caused. I've managed to find the doctor's datapad, but apart from that, I can't get into the surgery wing to check over his body. And there's nothing in this room that sheds any light on what happened. The information on the datapad should be more than enough. What does it say? Clear your throat as you pick up the device from the desk and pass it over to the captain. I haven't been able to log into it now. There's no sign of his keycard? No indication that he wrote his password down anywhere? No. What about these files on the desk? Nothing useful that I've seen, but I've not checked them thoroughly. Oh, you grew a little bit. Oh, I see. She wants to get under there. It's so forlorn that she couldn't get under the blanket. Remaining silent, the captain pulls the chair out from underneath the desk and sits in it, placing her head into her hands. So that's no progress on the investigation, Lieutenant? That's right, Captain. You hear a long drawn-out sigh while the captain lowers her hands onto the desk and looks up. In that case, I'll carry on through these documents in case any of them are relevant. I want you to take another look around the room. Hopefully there's something you overlooked. Yes, ma'am. Surely in the desk. Didn't I take off a sticky note? Anything, Captain? With a groan, the captain places the sheet currently in her hand back on the stack and pinches the bridge of her nose. Not unless Miss Quinn's innocence can be proven using old prescription logs or historic case notes from other postings. And what about yourself, Lieutenant? I was just going to check the drawers in the desk, if you don't mind. Certainly, be my guest. As the captain shifts to the right of the desk, he reaches down and opens the first drawer. Aside from some loose electrical plugs and wires, it's empty now that you've taken out the files. You move to the one underneath, which you'd originally taken the datapad out of, and notice the sticky note that you previously peeled off the screen. Could it be that easy? You temper your expectations as you read what's been written. The device asks me to press any key to continue. Ask Cathay's location of any key not visible on the keyboard. The doctor cannot be serious. What's that, Lieutenant? Wordlessly, you pass the captain the note as her eyes scan the writing on the edges of her lips curl upwards slightly. That's Dr. Rosarian for you, literal to a fault. Still, I suppose he was just ensuring he was compliant about following instructions. Unlucky for us that he couldn't have been a bit more relaxed about cybersecurity. Check the beds once again, but with how thoroughly you've been the first time around, there's nothing new for you to find. Despite a closer inspection of the cupboards and cabinets, you don't find anything new that you hadn't been able to see last time. You stand in front of the closed doorway to the surgery wing and tap on the frosted glass. You knew the glass used is the same kind as what's used in the window on the bridge, and would be pretty much impenetrable to conventional weapons, let alone what you had at your disposal. No, you'd not be able to find the doctor's key card, and without it, you wouldn't have much of a chance of getting in. Can I use the screwdriver? Handy tool, just not for the situation. I'm sure this will go down well, but I can think of someone who'd enjoy it more. Definitely isn't the time to be using that. Hang on. You reach into your jacket pocket and feel the hard, thin edge of a keycard. You knew that Hansen had taken yours, so this must be. You almost yell out when Vanessa lays her hand on Cassie's hip, but you stop when you see her withdraw a keycard from Cassie's skirt pocket. Holding it between her thumb and forefinger, with a flourish, she waves it at you as she stands up and looks back over to you. The central computer can only be accessed by the captain or member of operations. Good luck getting in there without this. Vanessa casually tosses you the card, which you grab out of the air. Turn the card over in your hand a few times before pocketing it. Ha! Thanks, Vanessa. With a smug sense of satisfaction, you swipe the card through the terminal next to the door and wait for it to open. Instead, you're met with a harsh series of digital tones. Access denied, insufficient authority. Figures. Your eyes linger on the terminal for a few more seconds as you think about everything you've gone through in the past few days involving bypassing these devices or the doors attached to them. Captain, just a quick question. You look over to see the captain with a stack of papers in one hand and the other hand rubbing her temples. She looks every bit as frustrated as you feel. There's no way to bypass these terminals without a card, is there? Placing the paper down, the captain swivels the chair to face you. What do you mean? I was just thinking, there's no manual override or something. No special captain's code the rest of the crew don't know about. The captain continues to stare at you, filling you with a vague sense of unease as you can't quite tell what the expression on her face means. Is it disdain, or is she... With a start, she stands up from her chair and approaches the terminal you stood by. You quickly step aside as she grabs it in both hands, drumming her long nails on its sides of the wood. After a brief pause, she begins to pull on the terminal, stopping for a moment to work her nails underneath a ridge that runs around the edges of its screen, and then continuing. After a moment or so of fruitless yanking at the device's casing, the captain stops and turns to you. I don't suppose you happen to have something I could use to pry this open, do you, Lieutenant? Oh, I have a gun! Perfect, thank you. Yes, I used the screwdriver. You pass the screwdriver to Captain Bartmuse and continue to observe in silence as she works its tip between a gap in the terminal's casing. That is definitely a euphemism. With a sharp snapping sound, the screen comes away in her hands, remaining connected to the main body of the unit by a long ribbon cable. They use these same terminals at the Academy. If you wanted to sneak out, you needed to learn how to get around them. You smile awkwardly at the captain's brazen display of pride in her ability to get around the security device. In all your time as a security officer, you've never seen anyone break so many rules. More than that, you've never seen anyone be so good at not getting caught. So, is that it? Will the door open now? Were you expecting it to be that easy, Lieutenant? Well, get over here. What am I looking at, Captain? It's a simple mechanism, a combination of digital and physical security. When the computer detects the correct clearance on a keyboard, on a keycard, these nodes are redirected the necessary power to the lock disengaging. You can get around it manually by rotating them to divert power to the door, letting you open it without needing a keycard. Oh, right. Is there a problem, Lieutenant? I just didn't realize the security terminals were so easy to bypass. Why are we using something like this? Years ago, the JUCF used them to manufacture and export these. They overproduced them, though, and once a better security system was created, there are masses of them left over. We all know the JUCF adage, waste not, want not. I guess that makes sense. Well, get to it. Captain, if you've got experience with these, why can't you do it? Lieutenant. Ma'am, I don't wish to give you any cause for concern, but I don't think I'm as in a fit state to be adjusting electronics right now. Right, of course. Wait, does that mean this is dangerous? Done. It's a heart. I got a trophy for that too. After a final rotation, you hear a click as the locking mechanism disengages and the door slides open. Ha! Yes. Excellent work, Lieutenant. Thank you, Captain. Although I've never seen someone so excited to enter a room containing a dead man. You've been so focused on disengaging the locking mechanism that you'd entirely forgotten why you were doing it. With the door open, you can now see into the surgery wing. Sure enough, there's a doctor, lying on an operating table. You shiver as you're hit with a blast of cold air. Whoever had left him in here must have turned the temperature down as low as possible to preserve his body. As the chill begins to fill the rest of the sickbay, you instinctively rub your arms to warm them. You knew that you'd always planned to get in here to examine his body, but now that it was possible, it was much less appealing. I know what I've got to do, but... You take a deep breath and steel yourself for what will come next as you step into the surgery area. You've never been in here before, although when the glass hadn't been frosted, you've been able to look in on the few occasions you've been in sickbay. Still, proximity to the automated surgical assistants made them much more intimidating. A series of long, thin mechanical appendages were suspended from a collection of disc-like objects, which themselves were attached to a room ceiling by various supports, cables, and tubing. The room's temperature was so low you could see your own breath. The which turned to condensation on certain parts of the machines, glinting with cold light as you moved around. Directly underneath all this was the body of Dr. Safer Rosarian. You shudder as you approach the corpse. Although you encountered the bodies of the crew and the O'Brien, these weren't people that you'd interacted with, spoken with, people you'd known. Laying here on the table, the lack of vital essence in the doctor was tangible. As sedate as he'd been when he was alive, seeing him like this made your stomach turn. Even the light in his mechanical eye was... Wait. Captain, mechanical prostheses don't run on power from the body, do they? You call out. There's a short pause before the captain appears at the doorway, apparently unwilling to come in further. Not that I'm aware of, Lieutenant, no. As far as I've been briefed, the Doctor's various cybernetics are all powered by industrial-grade power cells. We've got a small, non-standard stock on board just for him. Not many, though. Because of their use, they're designed to last for weeks at a time in any circumstances. As the captain continues to talk about what she knows of the Doctor, based on the accommodations that came with him being part of the crew, you gingerly investigate his arm. At first, you try moving the fingers, which yield with minimal effort, indicating that whatever servos inside of them used to move the joints were no longer functional. A check of the wrist and elbow joints suggested the same thing. You sweep the hair out of the way in the mechanical eye and look it over, but you can't spot any switch or toggle that looks like it could power the device on or off. What you do notice is singeing along the edges where the device meets the Doctor's skin, with the lens of the eye surrounded by a ring of black. Laying the Doctor's hair back as it had been, he turned to the captain. But we kept far more than necessary, especially considering that he installed a new set just before we departed. Wait, so... These parts shouldn't have shut down. Someone must have taken his batteries. Someone must have taken his batteries. What do you mean? None of the Doctor's prostheses are active anymore. If what you said is true, then the only answer is that the batteries were removed from them. That's extremely unlikely, Lieutenant. I don't want to get into it, but those are built into him. It's not a simple case of opening a compartment and just popping them out. It's much more likely that something damaged them in some way or another. So if something was able to damage them enough to knock them out of action... You take another look over the Doctor. Unlike Dr. DeBoer, there were no bruises or signs of physical trauma. You also couldn't see any surface level damage to the cybernetics. Something must have damaged their internals, and based on these scorch marks, I bet that would have been a huge electric shock, just like on the O'Brien. Unless the Doctor had been meddling with an electrical supply and engineering, there's nothing on board that could have done this except for a stun gun. Captain, it wasn't me. Don't worry, Lieutenant. Freeing me only to walk me through exactly how you murdered someone would be an interesting choice, one I don't see you making. Although it raises questions. But it gives us one answer at least. Agreed. Since we have what we've come for here, can I suggest we leave the Doctor in peace? Yes, ma'am. As the captain steps away from the doorway, you follow her out. Turning to the terminal, you reset the components, closing the door to hiss shut. You catch one final glance at the Doctor before the door closes, and you sigh, sorry that you couldn't have done more for him before this happened. With a shiver, you replace the top of the terminal's casing, causing the screen to flicker back to life. Aside from that stack of papers the captain is working through, there's nothing useful on that desk. Just some cables and a note. Can't believe someone would be so literal about computer instructions like that. How has he managed all these years? So then, we are to assume that the Doctor was killed by a large electrical shock. If I'm to understand your assessment correctly, that's right. If his prosthetics should still be fundamentally functioning, that's the only thing I could think of that could knock them out. Plus, the charring and burns along the points where the metal of his prosthesis met his skin, it looks like they conducted a large charge. That's certainly extremely curious. Out of everyone on board, you're the only crew member with authority to carry an electroshock weapon. So, either you did it... Nah, I didn't, I swear that. Settle down, Lieutenant. Or someone else on this ship must have had an electroshock weapon. Lieutenant Lord had been able to prevent me from seeing the alerts that must have been sounding when the ensigns took weapons from the armory. I wonder what other logs and reports she stopped me from seeing. You think the ensigns might have done this? Or Lieutenant Lord herself, potentially? Quite the elaborate plan, wouldn't you agree? But then, why go to the trouble of ransacking the medical supplies like this? An excellent question. See if there's anything else you can find in this room. If we're lucky, we might find the password to the doctor's datapad. If you can't find anything, then just activate the datapad and try to figure it out from there. Yes, ma'am. Really nothing else? So it goes through and picture the cupboards and cabinets. You don't find anything new that you haven't seen last time. Aside from the sack of papers on Kevin's desk, and nothing useful. Carry some literal by computers. Check the beds once again. We'll have there already been the first time, but nothing new for you to find. There's definitely nothing else to I can't see whatever that is. Electricity blood spill. Fresh glass aside from the shipment. No sign anything else was taken. I'm not familiar with medicine. Captain's going to get through the big stack of files. Nothing useful. Still nothing obvious here. I guess I'm just going to have to the doctor's datapad. I wish he'd written his password down or left it as a clue or something. Well, Lieutenant, unfortunately for us, he hasn't. I think our best course of action is to attempt it, I guess. What do we know about Dr. Azarian? Well, I guess he's extremely matter-of-fact, to the point, literal, like you said. I wonder. Alright, let's give this a try. Oh, it actually wants me to type. I was not anticipating this. You all knew it was coming. Of course. Dr. Azarian, you can't be serious. What is it, Lieutenant? Password, as in enter password. A broad smile cracks the captain's typically reserved countenance, and she throws back her head, laughing loudly. Continuing to laugh, the captain bends forward, her face obscured by her hair gets cascading down in front of it as her shoulders rise and fall. Eventually, she regains her composure and sits up, wiping a small tear from the corner of her eye, a smile still on her face. As I said, Lieutenant, literal to a fault. Her smile fading, the captain adjusts her hat and jacket and turns back to the reports that you've been reading. You've done good work, Lieutenant. Now please see if there's anything on that datapad that can exonerate myself and Miss Quinn. Yes, Captain. Medic. Oh, interesting. What did I say? Shit, I can't go back. If I go any further, I'll be looking at some really sensitive material, but there could be something in there that helps me. I need to make sure I only look at what I need to. Info. I think that's just a task. Assigns Dr. Safer Azarian. Patient Cassandra Quinn. Initial comprehensive review. Run neuroimaging set 1, set 2, select.
Where's your opinion on the name Bridget?
Sorry?
Where's your opinion on the name Bridget?
I think we've already gone through this. I'm not a fan. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Bridget. What are you? Something structured across a large body of water. Maybe too. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
It's not like it's horrible.
No, I didn't say it's horrible. Just not a fan. I wouldn't. I dislike it enough to be like, I don't want my child to be called Bridget.
Like, you have no taste. A lot of the names are brought up, it's just that you hate them.
Well, surely that means I do have taste.
What do you mean?
If I didn't have taste, surely I would just agree with all the ones you said.
Yeah,
So I do have taste.
although we have quite a lot of names on the list that you have so yes.
Yeah, exactly. So why you keep complaining about me now in taste?
I did remove some of them like the other day just because I don't like them anymore. So
What did
I
you
only
remove?
kept the ones that I do still like.
What did you remove?
Casca was one of them.
I don't remember us discussing Casca.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I would have agreed to that. I would have. And now I'm sad that it's not an option.
I don't hate it, I just don't think we would actually use it.
Maybe.
That's why I removed those things. Like, if we actually pick that, we'll pick them all. I don't remember what the other ones were, but just names
We'll have to go through that later. Supply painkillers and sedatives. Supplies painkillers and sedatives. Run neuroimaging set 3. Let's see. Here we go, Captain. I found something about Commander Quinn. Very good, Lieutenant. Is it useful? I think so. It says that he gave her sedatives at 21:22. It was around 21:30 when I came down and found the doctor dead before being attacked. There's no way that she could have attacked him if she'd just been sedated, let alone kill him. An excellent point, Lieutenant. That should be quite compelling evidence. Have you found anything that would be more helpful in proving I wasn't part of the ridiculous conspiracy Lieutenant Lord cooked up? Not yet, ma'am, but I'll keep looking. Hansen. Immobilized forearm to prevent furthering of ulnar fractures. Commenced automated ossification procedure. Review completion of ossification procedure and assess wound closures and sutures. Interesting. So you never got around to finishing that off. It's me! Local anti-inflammatory painkillers. Completed 8. Patient Merispartan use. Provide treatment for Vesalgia. Rehydrate with high glucose electrolyte component accompanied by painkillers. And provide recommendation on counseling for alcohol misuse and potential addiction. Womp womp out of order. Access to my functions disabled. Queen, date of birth 01/01/189. Recent update, patient delivered to sick bay unconscious. Recent update, sudden onset migraine to loss of consciousness. Current scans remain inconclusive, indications of neurological condition. Will require escalation to the Connolly Medical Center if scan set 3 provides no avenue for effective treatment. Diagnosed with gastric distress linked to synthetic ingredients and on-board food stores, ongoing treatment. Standard meals to be substituted for NutriStreet powders. Haruram investigated for enhanced sensory potential for 3 consecutive wins in youth frame racing championships. Lots inconclusive. Oh, they may be psychic. Interesting. Vanessa Lord. Jupiter Central. Recurring complaints regarding low impact conditions. No positive diagnosis today. Potential hypochondria. Dalton. Generalized anxiety disorder, ongoing treatment SSRI. Oh, I feel you, Dalton. Dylan. Nut allergy. Somehow, I want to make a comment on the fact that John decided that the character who's quite clearly him is AB+. I feel like that's somewhat telling in its way, but I don't know how or why. Hansen. Europa Colony Age. Recent update, severe fracture of ulna due to trauma from sudden impact whilst piloting armored frame. Automated ossification procedure commenced and completed 1923. No indication of long-term damage. Diagnosed with complex PTSD. Interesting. Refusal to attend CBT. Ongoing treatment. SSRIs. Mackenzie Cathays. Left shoulder joint internally augmented following injuries. Merispartan. Captain. Recent update, attended quarters following notification by crew members. Patient was discovered unresponsive due to alcohol-induced Visalgia. Level of consumption indicates undiagnosed alcoholism. Lieutenant. It says here that the doctor found you unresponsive due to a condition, but that's enough to show that you weren't just ignoring your duties when the Gundog's power went off. Well, that's excellent news, Lieutenant. Good work. This record of my indisposition and the commander's sedation, I think that we have everything we need for the Doctor's records to prove that we weren't purposely absent, wouldn't you say? I think so, man. They should do it. Diagnosed with dysthymia. Refused antidepressant medications and counselling. Remembered to forego mandatory counselling provided by Admiral Black News. Chronic hypertension. Interesting. This character has a similar condition to me. Chronic hypertension. No, it's becoming more well known. Well, so again, I feel like this is something that's... I don't think I've ever actually said this, or I might not have. You haven't seen the Cowboy Bebop movie, have you? Which you need to, it's really good.
Is it animated?
Well, yeah. But what I always found quite fascinating about it, obviously when I first saw it, I was, I don't know, a teenager. But it involves a terrorist attack where a guy unleashes a chemical compound that causes people to basically develop a condition.
I find that mildly insulting.
Why?
I think just because it's like, it's a case where like, you know, chemical spills and like, oh no, it's the end of the world, but it's just like, but when you know someone that has hypertension, it's just kind of a bit like, it's just a normal thing that happens sometimes. You don't eat chemical spills, right?
No, but the level of extreme hypertension that I have is a result of a chemical imbalance.
Because it makes sense.
Like, obviously, there are people who just get it due to various other conditions, such as being overweight and whatnot. But in my case, obviously they don't know what caused it, but it's probably not natural.
Like, I'm not offended. I'm just kind of a bit like, it seems a bit dramatic for something that is quite common.
Yeah, but it's also a very good way of like completely indisposing a large number of people without killing them. Like I remember when I first watched it, and I was like, "Huh, it's the condition that my mum has." And now I'm obviously a sufferer myself. And it's like interesting that this movie acknowledges my condition in a way that makes it quite a problem. And like, it's very easy for it to get to a point where you're no longer able to do anything. So in terms of like, if you're trying to perform an act of terrorism that renders an entire population, you know, completely immobile without killing anyone, it's a pretty solid technique. And I mean, it's super hard to manage in like the short run. You also have further further issues that can arise from it, such as, you know, temporary or permanent blindness, retinal damage, brain swelling, in worst case scenarios, strokes or brain damage. Like, it can be pretty bad. But yeah, it's just interesting to me that, like, I'm impressed that John thought to include something like that in there. Probably not, but you never know. I can know. Well, Lieutenant, I think the contents of the data pad should be sufficient evidence that neither the Commander nor I were shirking our duties as Lieutenant Lord had suggested, wouldn't you say? Yes, ma'am, it's pretty conclusive stuff. And given the condition of the Doctor's body, we know that he was dispatched via means the Commander wouldn't have access to. Do you think this will suffice to prove our innocence in the eyes of the crew, Lieutenant? Well, it might, but I don't think it'll be enough. We need to do more than prove it wasn't you. We need to prove who it was. I see. Can't argue with you there, but how exactly do you plan on achieving that? Well, I was thinking. The Doctor kept logs of everything, right? That's one of the ways we've been able to show you and Commander Quinn had nothing to do with this. That reminded me of how everything on this ship is logged or reported in some way, like entering the armory or accessing the central computer. What are you getting at, Lieutenant? This ship, Captain. It records everything that happens. Who opens doors, where they do it, and when it happens, if weapons are taken, everything. If we can access those logs, we can see exactly what happened and prove who did it. Once we've got the actual culprit, then we can prove without a shadow of a doubt that you and Commander Quinn are innocent. A valid point, Lieutenant, but where are you suggesting we go to do that? Well, I was thinking we would head to the central computer. All the alerts might get sent to the bridge, but everything on the ship is run by the central computer, so the data will be stored there. If we access it, we can get everything we need without having to risk going anywhere near Vanessa or the ensigns. Once we're there, we can check all the logs of the crew's locations. If we're lucky, we might be able to spot some suspicious activity too. Very well, Lieutenant. If that's the plan, then I say we head over to the central computer immediately. I don't think there's anything more for us here, do you? Not anymore, ma'am. Then let's depart. With her typical confident stride, the captain walks past you and towards the awaiting elevator. For all of her airs, you notice a slight totter to her step, reminding you that she was still someone who had recently imbibed almost a full bottle of whiskey. You follow her in, moving to stop her from immediately pressing the button that will take you to the central hub. Lieutenant, we're going to have to be careful, ma'am. There's a chance that the ensigns are back on guard outside your quarters. So, what do you propose? Well, you rub the back of your neck as you attempt to devise a way to get past the two pilots without being noticed. You're just forming the beginnings of a plan when the captain suddenly lunges towards the button and hits it, causing the doors to close and setting the elevator in motion. Captain, I'm sure we'll manage to figure it out, Lieutenant. You curse silently as you feel the elevator ascend. The journey and your sudden panic does not offer anywhere near enough time to come up with a plan as the elevator slows to a halt and the doors open. You thrust your arm out in front of the captain to prevent her from walking into the central hub and slowly begin to lean out past the doors, listening for any sign that the ensigns have returned. There's no conversation or activity that you can make out. Instead, all you hear is the ambient noise of the ship's systems. You take a few more steps forward, highly aware of the sound of your steps on the steel floor ringing out in the near silence. Eventually, you creep all the way over to the entrance to the Foresight thoroughfare and look around. With a sigh of relief, you head back to the captain. Well, looks like they're still in the hangar. Whatever you did must have kept them distracted. I told you I was quite capable of making a scene, Lieutenant. But we shouldn't waste time. They could still be back at any moment. Right, let's get moving. With the captain following close behind, you head straight towards the engineering department and the central computer that waits within. You're halfway down the aft thoroughfare when you hear the captain's footsteps stop. Turning around, you find her inspecting the terminal next to the armory. Captain, come on, what are you doing? Wait a moment, Lieutenant Finch. Even when we've got the evidence we need, there's every chance that Lore and the ensigns won't listen to reason. Don't you think we might be a bit more persuasive if we were to be properly armed? I think it'd be worth handling this terminal as you did the one in sickbay and getting some weapons from the armory. You pause. The captain was right. But at the same time, unlike the terminal in the sickbay, this one was right in the middle of the ship, clearly visible from both engineering and all the way down the Foresight thoroughfare. The ensigns weren't here now, but there was a chance that they could come back at any minute. I think it's worth a risk. I think that's a good idea. Even with your revolver, we wouldn't stand much of a chance if they resorted to using their weapons. We need something to even the odds. But I'll need you on lookout. Do you think you could keep an eye on the hangar entrance in case they come back? Shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure not to take too long. Sure, of course. You're already using a screwdriver to pry the top of the unit before the captain heads away towards the opposite thoroughfare. Lieutenant, I overheard Chief Casey is sending Ensign Cruz to report to Lord. We've got about 30 seconds until he gets here. Right, okay. Hurry. I am hurrying. I was just making it harder than I needed to. As the door into the armory slides open, you whistle and wave the captain over. You spend a few seconds being surprised at how quickly she closes the gap between the two of you. You never thought of the heels that certain Jovian officers wore to be the kind of shoes you could run in, but the captain was actively disproving that. Without waiting for her, you slip in through the door. Now inside the armory, you take a look around. Everything was as you'd expected. You head towards the locker that Hansen and Haru would have removed their weapons from, and noticed that although they'd done a good job of disguising the fact guns had been taken, there were still a few telltale signs. He spent some time looking through the glass of the various weapons within, deciding what would be the best option for things if they turned violent. It wasn't a thought you enjoyed, even if they were part of a mutiny. Your training as a security officer had a strong focus on never using lethal force against other crewmates. Unfortunately, in this kind of scenario, you weren't sure you would be left with much of a choice. These won't be doing any good if I get to an actual firefight. Small arms and light weapons. Nessa must have given the ensigns access to this locker at some point after we got back from the O'Brien. I wish I'd noticed. This locker is just electroshock weapons. I wouldn't stand a chance going against Hansen or Haru with one of these. Gotta keep things non-lethal, but I don't really have that luxury. They wouldn't be intimidated by this at all. Not with what they're armed with. Even though they're a bit sturdier than your average suit, they don't really offer any tactical advantage, especially not in a firefight. You're assessing the various lethal weapons that you could choose from when the captain appears beside you. So, Lieutenant, have you made your choice? You nod towards the submachine gun. That's what Hansen's armed with, so it would put me on equal footing with him at the very least. The only issue is that you move forwards towards the lock in place on the weapons locker. If I try to open this, it'll send an alert up to the bridge, like the one you would have got when I took my electroshock weapon. There's no way for me to get it without alerting Lord. I could try taking the casing off, but this lock looks different to the doors that open so far. Lieutenant Finch, you really need to start thinking a bit more outside of the box. What do you... Before you can stop, the captain pulls a revolver out from where you've stuffed it in your waistband and brings it up in front of her, firing 3 shots into the glass before it shatters. Captain! Walking over the broken glass, the captain takes hold of one of the submachine guns and hands it to you. Am I wrong in assuming that we don't have the luxury to be wasting more time on these locks, Lieutenant? You look back at the captain as you grab a few magazines from the locker, checking for any damage from the captain's creative method of gaining access. No, ma'am, but then consider it a problem solved. Stuffing her revolver back into her jacket pocket, the captain leaves you to finish inspecting the magazines. Satisfied that you've got enough ammunition, you join her by the door, looking around for anyone who might have heard the gunshots. Luckily, the thoroughfares remain empty. The airtight nature of the armory door, coupled with the noise from the nearby engineering department, seems to have done enough to muffle the sound. Alright then, let's go. It doesn't take long for the two of you to travel the remainder of the aft thoroughfare and arrive in engineering. Once there, you slip behind the first, most obtrusive piece of machinery you can find, before carefully peering out to check your path to the central computer is clear. With the captain close behind you, you dash along the various catwalks that take you to where you need to be. Fortunately for both of you, your path is clear, and it doesn't take long before you have the entrance to the central computer. Yes.
What are your thoughts of me doing like the kids I don't see like where there's like little libraries we see like bookshelves and stuff?
It's up to you. Like the auto web probably might be better to sell. Well, would you grab me more? What about? She doesn't have. I don't know. It's up to you. It's yours. So. Just make sure it's like complete reset, so there's no like link to your Amazon account or whatnot. Then I don't see why not. Well, you can see if someone around here wants them. Here we are. Hand to it. Putting Cassie's keycard out of your pocket, you slide it through the card reader on the terminal, and the door hisses open. You wave the captain inside, take one last look to ensure you've not been spotted before following her. Why does that work here but not anywhere else, though, I wonder? You'd had first-hand experience of how small this room was, But now that you are inside with the captain, you quickly come to the conclusion that it was never designed for more than one occupant. The two of you awkwardly shift around, each of you doing your best not to press into the other. However, standing side by side and facing the large monitor in front of you, it's impossible for you to not nudge or jostle each other when making the slightest movement. With a frustrated sigh, the captain begins to type rapidly on the keyboard, bringing up a selection of different windows and screens. There we are, Lieutenant. It seems that our new captain doesn't have the technical wherewithal to restrict access to the system. Given that we appear to have complete digital freedom, where were you intending to look? Or what were you intending to look for? Well, I was thinking if we could see whoever the bioscanner logged accessing the sickbay just before I went to visit Commander Quinn. That should show us who murdered the doctor. That shouldn't be too hard. The captain mutters to herself as her fingers fly deftly over the keyboard. Given that you'd only ever used the essential functions on your terminal, you're amazed to watch the captain navigate various windows, menus, reams of data, and commands with such swiftness. Within seconds, it all coalesces into a small series of windows, each one titled with the crew member's name, followed by a list of where and when they'd accessed what anything using their keycards. There. Every crew member with a chronological list of everywhere they've ever logged in during or leaving, starting with the most recent locations. You detect a hint of smug pride in the captain's voice as she presents her handiwork to you. That's great, Captain, thank you. You feed back vaguely, your focus instead on scanning the list of locations and times that she'd obtained for each member of the crew. You look through the records, pausing only to ask the captain to bring a different window to the foreground so that you can review it. Despite a thorough investigation of everyone's logs, you're left with a problem. Captain, no one here is logged as entering sickbay at any point near when the doctor would have been killed. Are you sure? Shifting towards the center of the keyboard and pushing you up against one of the walls in the cramped compartment, the captain scans the logs, quickly skipping from window to window. From the looks of it, the last person to enter sickbay was you, but that was well before the doctor could have been killed. Not long after I briefed you on the task of the hangar, in fact. This doesn't make any sense. Someone must have been picked up by the bioscanner when they went in. Don't worry, Lieutenant. There's more than one way to look at this. As the captain resumes her rapid typing on the keyboard, resulting in repeatedly getting an elbow jabbed into your ribs, the current batch of windows disappear, replaced by a similar-looking but different set of data. There, that's a history of entry logs sorted by room instead. Let's look at sickbay. That can't be right. You lean into the captain to get a closer look at the information on the screen. No information. How can there be no information? The bioscanner tracks everyone. It's got us all on file. And I'm responsible for adding the biodata of everyone that comes on board this ship. There's no way that someone could have a dummy entry without me knowing. The captain begins to type again, and you quickly press yourself up against the wall to avoid another barrage of strikes to your ribs. No information, sickbay 2129. Just before I got there. No information, crew quarters 5, 2102. Crew quarters 5, that's Cassie's cabin, why? No information, central computer 2021. No information, engine room 1933. No information, mess hall 1910. No information, hangar 1850. Just after you and Ensign Cruz had crashed into the hangar alongside that thing. Is that it, Captain? Are there any other logs? Maybe Vanessa set up a dummy profile with fake biodata or something. The captain shakes her head, her brow furrowed as she stares at the screen. That's not possible. Profiles are created back at Europa Colony using biometric data from each crew member and then uploaded to the ship. She couldn't possibly get the security clearance required to make a fake profile. Maybe someone's isn't working properly then. Bad data, maybe? Hangar 1850. That's the first entry for no information. You both stand in silence. Were the logs really saying what you thought they were saying? I need to get some space, some air. It's too crowded in here. The captain does her best to turn on the spot, and still has to barge her way past you to leave the room. Captain, wait. Captain, come back. We need to... Whatever's happening on board my ship has been going on long enough. I don't have time for these silly games anymore. We've already lost one member of the crew, and that could just be the beginning. That bitch needs to know that she's putting us all in jeopardy. As the captain turns to head away, you dart past her, blocking the way. Captain, wait, please. If you Despite her visible fury, you stand your ground, preventing her from moving past you on the narrow catwalk. If you go up there now, you know how she'll react. There's no way we can convince the rest of the crew to help us if we can't figure out what's going on. If you just leave now, this will all be for nothing. We don't have time for this, Lieutenant, so get out of my way. I can't let you go, ma'am. Move! With a sharp swing, the captain brings her palm towards your face as she yells, I am your captain, damn it! The slap catches you directly on the cheek, and your head snaps to the right. You're stunned for a second, but as the captain attempts to shove her way past, you remain firmly stood in place. Captain, stop it! You bark. Don't you think I feel the same way? I want to stop this too. But we're the only ones who know about this, and if we get bundled back into your quarters, or worse, that's it for the crew and this whole damn ship. So listen to me. We need to figure this out now. The captain's face is a grim picture of anger. You can hear her teeth grinding, but following your outburst, she remains still, glowering at you. Breathing heavily with your cheek flush and hot as the stinging sensation subsides, you step towards her, saying nothing. Fine then, Lieutenant. Have it your way. If you think having all of our facts on the side, all of the facts on our side will make a difference, right. You close your eyes, take a deep breath and exhale, doing your best to center yourself in focus. Everything you'd found out whirls around inside your head, as if caught in a windstorm. But so much new knowledge, it was difficult to pin down any coherent ideas. But you knew that you need to figure out exactly what was going on, especially after what you'd just seen on the computer's records. Right, so first things first. Lords pinned the death of Dr. Rosario on Cassidy as part of this conspiracy she's accused the two of you of. I know there's no way she would have done that to him, as much as your good word stands for anything, Lieutenant. How do we know that for sure? Well, because of the why couldn't Cassie have killed the doctor? Because of the condition she's in. She'd been completely knocked out when the murder happened. I arrived minutes after when his tablets showed she was sedated. The dosage, the timing, it's all there. She couldn't possibly have killed him. She was unconscious at the time it happened. Good, Lieutenant, good. It'll be hard for Lord to argue with records like that, even if she argues with the circumstances. As well as that, I had Chief Cathays and Ensign Bundy carrying the commander up to her quarters afterwards. They were both well aware of how she was completely passed out. But then again, Captain, knowing Lord, she'll probably wheedle her way around the point or pull at those loose threads to make others question it. We know the doctor had sedated the commander shortly before you arrived. But, to play devil's advocate, how do we know she didn't kill him just before the sedatives took effect? Ugh, I hadn't thought about that. Those drugs act quickly, though. Cassie couldn't have been awake for long. Long enough for Lord, I'm sure. We need to prove she didn't kill him before she fell unconscious. Why couldn't Cassie kill the doctor before the sedatives took effect? Because of the cause of death. There was no way she could have killed him. And why is that, Lieutenant? The cause of death, think about it. Whatever killed him also deactivated his prosthetics and left signs of singeing along where his body met the metal. That could have only been done by a source of high-power electricity, something like an electroshock weapon. I didn't find one in there. No one mentioned finding one either. So unless she got sedated, drew a previously hidden electroshock weapon, and then managed to hide it again, it's a ridiculous scenario. Possibly. What if an electroshock weapon were to be found? There's no way, man. I searched that room from top to bottom. Are you sure? What if Lord were to investigate the room herself and one were to conveniently appear? That's ridiculous. She'd be planting evidence. You think she wouldn't resort to that? If we're going to pursue this logic, we need it to be airtight. How can we be sure Miss Quinn didn't hide an electroshock weapon? She can't have access to the armor. That's simple. She couldn't have had an electroshock weapon in the first place. And why? She couldn't have had one because she can't get into the armory. Only members of security have access to the armory, and it's you that grants authority to crew members to access it. If you've never granted her access, she wouldn't have been able to get one. You've never granted her access, have you? Of course not. Especially not after reading what happened during her firearms training. So if you never granted her access, she could have never got her hands on one, right? That's correct. And that's something we can back up using the ship's own logs. There should be only one instance of an electroshock weapon being taken this mission. Yours. That's gotta be enough to prove Cassie didn't do it, right, Captain? can't see any holes in our narrative left for Lord to exploit. We can prove that Miss Quinn wasn't conscious at the time of the Doctor's death, and even if she had been, it would have been impossible for her to ever procure the murder weapon. Hopefully, that should allay any suspicion the crew have that she is the guilty party. Great. But what about my part in Laura's repeated series of events? Where she accused you of being unavailable on purpose during the blackout. That's right. She accused the commander of being part of that as well. Even though we might be able to prove Miss Quinn had nothing to do with the murder, Lord will likely just accuse me of killing her and focus her argument against us on the sabotage. Yeah, you're right. It's not like she's let the truth get in her way so far. So then, Lieutenant, what can we tell everyone to convince them that neither Miss Quinn nor myself were responsible for the sabotage or shirking our duties? You were both unwell. So Lord's argument is that you're both traitors through inactivity, right? That was a choice. But using the Doctor's datapad, we can see that both of you were ill at the time of the blackout happening. There was no choice about it. The Doctor made note of what happened to you, as well as all the scans and treatments he gave Cassie. He wouldn't have done that unless he found cause to. That proves you had both had a genuine medical need. The Doctor may have had his quirks, but I don't think the crew will believe he was incompetent or a liar. Yes, that should work. That's it then. That's you and Cassie in the clear. Well, as long as we can trust the crew to listen to reason. But that still leaves us with who is actually responsible. Yeah. Even if we confront Vanessa and prove you're innocent, there will still be a murderer on board the ship. We won't be safe until we figure out who that is. And on that sentence, I'm calling it for tonight. Shit's obviously really revving up now. We've gotten a lot of company. Excuse me. Gotten a lot accomplished today. Having really set foot into this investigation, gotten things in order. I guess it'll be down to next time that we will try and look into who actually did everything. If I may throw forward my theory, judging by the fact that there is a strange log showing that someone with no data arrived at the time of the crash when we brought the thing in. I think it's quite obvious that something in there came aboard with us. Now, my immediate thought is that it must be some sort. I mean, this is probably completely wrong out there or whatever, but I don't care. I'm going to share my theory, which is that there's some sort of shape-shifting alien creature thing, something that requires the Nutrimax food supplement thing that was responsible for killing everything on the O'Brien, ransacking the health cupboards, and I'm assuming has taken over Hansen, or replaced Hansen in some way, because there was a long period of time where we weren't with him on the O'Brien, and he suddenly appeared to take us back. Obviously that doesn't necessarily explain how it has knowledge of his animosity towards me or skills at piloting the orbital frame, but that would explain why it was marked as an unknown entity. It was already in the medical wing, because obviously the Doctor was dealing with Hansen, and also allowed for it to destroy the cabinets and take the Nutrimix thing. Probably wrong, but that's where my mind immediately goes to with regards to what's going on. But all of that we're going to have to just find out next time. I definitely won't be streaming this Saturday, but I might see if I can maybe fit one in on Sunday, whether it be this or Final Fantasy, I'm not entirely sure. But we'll see as and when we get there. PP has come to say her farewells for the day. She's just being cute and standing here with a warm belly and a big yawn. Do you have anything you would like to add, Paige? And on top of that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. I hope you don't wind up being accused of mutiny and attempting to take over a ship, or, being incompetent in your roles. I hope that you remain safely within the trust of the people who need and should trust you. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.